It's 10:30, I guess I can get going here. Good morning and thank you for being here. My name is Walter Schultz. A lot of people know me as Sid. I've been doing this stuff for about 30 years. I went to my first convention as a teenager and was immediately hooked. And as a reminder, I've already said it before, I'll say it again, I am recording. I'm going to get my voice recorder on now. As I show somebody else, this is just a voice recorder, just to get my voice so I can do the presentation and put it online later on. There is a video camera that is facing me, so no one else, don't worry about anyone being recorded and have their face. Just respecting everyone's privacy. Also trying to make it so that people couldn't come here and see it later. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Obviously we all have a shared interest, and hopefully I can shed some insight on all the stuff that I've seen and tried to help fix and also go WTF. Brief introduction. About red flags of fandom. It started with a project talking to my friends of mine over and over again, talking about all the stuff we've seen and go, why is this happening? And I thought, okay, we can talk about stuff blowing up, or maybe we can turn that frown upside down and go, what if we can help try to find some of the core reasons things happen and maybe help prevent it happening in the future? And well, why don't we watch out for the red flags? Red flags in fandom, and there you are. General housekeeping, I am recording. Language mature, and possibly there might be some disturbing content. Nothing graphic, don't worry about that, but there will be some phrases that have been shared that are less than good. We'll have try to do a Q&A afterwards. I'm going to try to push through some of the concepts I got going on here. And dedication and who am I? If you saw your program guide, we have lost an absolutely wonderful person by the name of Patty Vickers-Bond. She's one of the people who are mentioned in the memoriam. I had the honor of working for her through Toronto Trek, and she was an absolutely wonderful contributor and a leader in our community. And for decades, she was an incredible force that made things happen. And hi, Red Flags of Fandom, come on in.
All right, thanks.
And she was equally fierce and compassionate and always someone you can rely on, and she stepped up in so many different ways. She was there for me in very dark times, and just want to say, I miss you, Combas. Anyway, who am I? Who's this big guy talking at you here? So, I've been doing this since 1994, back when I was a teenager. You can do the math of how old I am right now. I was doing stuff back when convention safety was called security, before Ontario laws changed that. But I've seen stuff from multiple angles as an organizer, a taskmaster, security and safety, emergency response. I've lost track the number of times I've been interviewed in the media, and sometimes I just show up at conventions to just do silly stuff. And maybe some pictures you saw of me online. This is me having some fun doing security at a convention. Red flags and fandom, come on in. Here's me having some fun at a convention, just laying down on the job. Doing a one-off as a Yip Yip Martian. Brenda and I decided just to make Yip Yip Martians and walk around a convention one day and brought down the house. I also do cosplay repair. That's a lot of gear. It's fun though. I also play airsoft, and there's my impersonation of a tree. And there's my impersonation of a fallen tree. And on Star Wars Day, on May the 4th, I actually decided to go ahead and do all my chores while dressed as a Jedi. So, just have some fun. But, so we got our topics here, and we see I've spared no expense on our graphics department here. We have our topics. We got deception, questionable activities, threats and manipulation. Come on in. We got, we're going to talk about personal attacks and hostility, questionable social media content, spec work and for exposure. We'll get into that. We're talking about groupthink and lack of oversight. In fact, last year, someone brought up an excellent point. I'm going to integrate that. This is an evolving project that changes every time I play around with it. And I'm testing it out today, so congratulations. We're all being, we're test subjects, hooray! And we're going to definitely talk about boundaries. That's something we really got to reinforce on. I think all of us have experienced something in that regard. Again, spare no expense in the graphics department. I actually got a website up and running called redflagsofandom.com, and I'll be updating what I've done in this panel to update what's available on the website. And I got wants to be contacted through there as well. If worst case Ontario, you can always contact Ending North and bring your comments or questions online to me that way too, if that's something you want to do. So jumping right in, we're going to talk about deception. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep. Outstanding, thank you. Shortening this up from last year, you all had to deal with someone lying to us. But the theme I want to get on this week, this presentation, talking about good faith and bad faith. When I talk about good faith and bad faith, I'm not talking about anything spiritual in faith. I'm talking about what they use in law. For example, if you know anything about labor law, have reason to complain about safety, you're doing it in good faith, meaning that you legitimately think something's happening a certain way. So we do decisions in good faith, and we also make mistakes in good faith. It happens. You know, we make mistakes, we try to learn from them. Making a mistake and using deception with bad faith or harmful intent, two different things. Like, we've all been lied to, right? We don't like it. It's different than making a mistake. It's just really important to make the distinction, because we'll see stuff as we go along where that's intentional deception, where you'll see happening whether at a convention or fan clubs or anything. So I just throw that there at the top. But again, bad faith and patterns, they're not mistakes. You make a mistake, you try to learn from it. You make another mistake, you're still trying to learn from it, and eventually you stop doing it. When you see something happening again and again and again, that's not a mistake, that's a pattern, and that's a choice, and it's a harmful choice. The other thing I talk about with deception is reaction. Like, you ever caught somebody lying to you, and what do? They start calling you names, or they lie again, right? Well, this also happens in fandom a lot over the last 30 years, arguably the last 5 or 10 years. There's been some incidents that some people may know about. So the reactions are a tell, going, oh, how dare you say that, versus, oh, okay, you caught me. All right, at least if you admit to doing something wrong, you can still fix it. There's people that just can't figure that out. So that leads us into the next topic. I'm going pretty fast here. Am I talking too fast? Are you guys okay?
Okay.
I got a little nervous. I tell you, true story, I would never go in front of a stage, never go in front of people do some public speaking until I went to a convention. Going full circle here, I love it. So we're talking about questionable activities. A lot of it's the use of deception to achieve a gain, and typically it's regards to financial matters. Fraud, using deception through lying to cheat people out of money, cheat people out of their time, cheat people out of their resources. That's happened. It's an uncomfortable reality. I've got some examples coming up, but talking about prevention and awareness, because everyone's targeted. We talk about every time you turn on the news, there's some scam, there's some fraud operation, and someone loses money and they're not going to get the money back, right? All we can do is keep educating ourselves and watching out for things that this doesn't make sense. Okay, I'm going to pause, I'm going to look this up. Instead of just joining in or jumping in or throwing some cash at something, I'm going to say, just, if in doubt, check it out. And by the way, I'm going to throw a bunch of stuff at you today, but the last slide, I got everything condensed into 4 quick little points. And it'll help condense things up, because I got a lot loaded here. But we talk about financial concerns. They're often written off, and there's no legal consequences. Everything from somebody running a show, accepting money in advance for a show that was never going to run, is not going to get, people who paid them are not going to get their money back. Much like how there was a company in the same town when this happened, same year, where we're talking millions and millions of dollars went missing, and the entire company folded, and everyone went out of business. Both the convention incident and the business incident have one thing in common. There's been no criminal charges. So we're talking millions of dollars, we're talking thousands of dollars. Whether or not what the number is, the issue is that you're not going to get the money back because no one's prosecuting it. Making prevention and awareness the key, and everyone's targeted. I'll give you an example here. This happened in 2017. The convention went ahead and said, we need $2,500 to pay for insurance. We need $2,500 to pay for insurance, or else you can't run the show. These are internal memos from the conversation from the organizers talking to all the volunteers, telling the volunteers 12 days before the show, we can't run the show, we need money. We need, not only are you volunteering for us and working for us for free, we need you to give us money, or else we can't run the show. That in itself is a pretty big red flag. It's even highlighted here. I'm not going to ask you to read it. I'll read it for you. Here's a volunteer saying, I'm going to post my thoughts on this. This is absolutely ridiculous. 12 days before the con, we're just finding about this now? Oh, and they're selling passes, and the passes don't get you anything. Everyone gets access to the same services. So they're going out of their way to sell passes to raise money, and these passes are worth air. You're selling people air, going through all the effort to sell some people, sell money and raise money and give money to a, what do you got here? So they went ahead and did a GoFundMe. They didn't even get 10% of their $2,500 goal. Here's the sick part. That convention was actually hosted by the city, and they were getting funding for all the stuff, including insurance for the event. All the facilities, everything covered. All they had to do was go set up tables and run the show. There never was an emergency. There never was a need for that money. So people donated money for nothing, except for putting it in someone's pockets for, questionable activities. This also happened. I'm leaving the date and the address in place. So the red flag for the previous one is you're already asking people working for you for free for money, but why do you need the money? Why wasn't this paid in advance? That's very questionable. This other one here, the reason I'm leaving the Holiday Inn Kitchener is because by that time and date, the Holiday Inn Kitchener didn't exist. I kid you not. So what happened is this convention was being advertised saying we're going to bring in all these celebrities. It has some names that people would recognize, especially from sports and wrestling. Sorry, just turn that off. There we go. Sports and wrestling and household names of people that you would recognize. You turn on the TV, and go, oh, that's so and so. Hey, they're coming to the show, or so we thought. What happened is. What happened is they posted the address, or they posted the Holiday Inn Kitchener, which didn't exist. So wait a minute, if you're running a show, wouldn't you want to make sure you're giving people accurate information? Like, anybody north isn't going to say, don't go to the Metro Convention Center for our event, right? They're going to make sure you go to the actual location and spell it out correctly. Go around the corner, please. And when you know, I was interested in maybe going to the show, and I also had another interest, but things not matching up. I did this really brainiac thing. I spent another 5 minutes, instead of going home after work, I went to the hotel, talked to the actual management. You'll never believe what the manager told me. The booking had been canceled 2 months prior, and they're still advertising selling tickets for a show that the event organizer knew wasn't going to run. So I put out a warning, did the best I could, and people still showed up for an event they paid for and drove all over to go to that wasn't happening. So, questionable activities? Yeah. And it's not just fraud and theft, it's also money, it's also another questionable thing. Anybody here do live action role play, LARP? Or familiar with it? Okay, so dress up in character, you use safe materials to hit each other over the heads with, right? Or not supposed to be the head, but you get the idea. Those are mouse swords. This was posted in 2016. Took the better part of a year for the convention to start realizing, oh, maybe we shouldn't take other people's work. These are community actors doing theater for a medieval fair. So they said, okay, LARP in the park, and you're going to join in battles and demos. Well, in reality, that picture was taken September of 2009. And I can tell you the actual date because in the original photograph, I'm standing off to the side waiting to do my rehearsed performance against her sister. So, convention stealing other people's work. We don't need that. That's highly questionable. These are just some examples. If something doesn't work, this doesn't seem right, check it out. All right, threats and manipulation. Big long word there. Essentially what we're talking about are organizers and conventions and whatever type of thing in fandom where they're trying to suppress and avoid scrutiny, especially when they know they've been caught doing something wrong. It's all about the optics, trying to hide what they've done and threatening people from talking about it versus, oh, maybe we should stop doing bad stuff. I don't know about you, but if you know that something's wrong, don't do it. It's over an emphasis on optics. may have heard about something called SLAP. We have a very powerful anti-SLAP laws here in Canada. SLAP is a strategic lawsuit against public participation. You may have heard of the Streisand effect, right? Where Barbara Streisand didn't like a photograph being shared and decided to take legal action. Next thing you know, everyone's sharing the photograph. So trying to stop conversations about a legitimate topic and trying to raise awareness about an issue, the next thing you know, they're spending more time trying to do damage control by threatening people. I've seen this over and over again in 30 years, and I've never seen a single lawsuit where somebody's saying something. I kid you not. Not too long ago, I shared screenshots of an incident, and the person in charge of the media relations was saying to me that was defamation and harassment. Yeah, no. Thankfully, I don't think that person's doing that job anymore. Little term, LOL suits, LOL suits. Really just out there threats and trying to stop people from having a conversation about a legitimate concern. Typically, it's how dare you share what we did. Yeah, I'm shortening this up pretty good. Okay, good. Yeah, let's go for this picture here. So in 2015, yes. In 2015, there was an incident where somebody was, I'll give you the highlights of that. In 2015, there was an incident where somebody in charge of a convention decided that they didn't like the criticism they were getting and decided to cast off a really ignorant comment of a sexual nature to a young woman. And of course, people talked about it. Well, the person in charge of the media relations said, I'm going to tell you to stop talking about it, or else the legal team is going to go after you. It doesn't work that way. So it got so bad to the point where people don't really remember the disgusting comment that preceded this, but this has been floating around the interwebs a few times. We're showing how not to do public relations. It's a 101 on how to screw things up even worse. So we're talking about threats and manipulation, trying to manipulate the image instead of doing something about it and threatening people to stop conversation. You see that happening year after year in different organizations all throughout North America. Most, if not all, of my examples are from Ontario. If it's from 400 or QAW highways, it's probably on here. Personal attacks and hostility. Long story short, we're talking about attacking the person instead of attacking an argument. It's usually, again, to avoid necessary scrutiny and not having any credibility in the process. You know, it can be something as innocuous as calling someone a troublemaker when that person was the one that called out a fraudster. And sharing what a fraudster did, labeling someone for pointing out some serious discrepancies, to going so far as harassing victims of sexual harassment. That happened in 2019 as well, where somebody who was in charge of, relations at a convention brought in a controversial voice actor, and preceding that, or around that time, was actively harassing that voice actor's victims. So, yeah. And again, see also reactions to deceptions being caught and overreaction to criticism. So again, just being hostile for no reason. If anything, we're vigorously disagreeing with each other. At most, we're opponents. We're never an enemy. Whereas you've seen some pretty vile stuff online, people talking about each other. There's no need for that. We're all nerds. We're all geeks. Thank goodness we're all so different, but thank goodness we're also very similar. Celebrate that instead of trashing each other. Let's see here. Yeah, I want to make a mention about this 2003 court ruling, and it does apply to Fandom as well. And so harassment and hate, just ugly hate campaigns. Stemming from the previous comment there, I think we've all seen our share of comments and actions that were just unacceptable. And you wonder, why is it happening in our fandom as well? The unfortunate reality, the world is getting hostile and more hostile. And I like to treat fandom in our convention community as a place where we can try to escape from that, you know, support each other and be a community. You know, there's always that element that we have to watch out for where you see that hostility and go, ugh. I want to talk about this 2003 ruling, essentially equating, essentially equating people who identify as LGBTQ plus as groomers of and sexual crimes against children. I'm seeing this happening in fandom as well. In fact, I have a post to share that happened last year. I've been seeing I saw somebody was posting to a local fandom community and equating people who are involved in fandom as groomers as well, and that's it's disgusting. So you see stuff like that, you know, that's something we don't want in our community. We're better than that. So, all right, we're ready to questionable social media content. Holy crap, we're going through this real quick. Essentially, why would you post that? See also personal attacks and hostility. You'll see a lot of this stuff blend in with each other. And by the way, when I first started this project, I didn't have AV. I had to go and spend about $8 a dollar round, and here you are. And I thought, okay, since if you're all familiar with WHMIS, Workplace Hazardous Materials Information System, and the safety data sheets, right? It's got that distinctive hatch border. It warns us about toxic elements in an environment. Yeah, it seems appropriate. But, yeah, also deception, false advertising, dishonest representations, all that kind of stuff. I got a bunch of stuff. I want to warn you about this next slide. This happened April of last year, and I checked this not too long ago, and it's still online. Here we are. With the Transgender Act, this is from a media group that has been to Anime North before. I do not expect them to be here this year, and if they are, I'll make sure to point out the people that I know who run this place to let them know they're here. And it says here, with the transgender activists raising the false flag of not feeling safe, the leftist politicians are ready to sound the alarm with a new law that wants to fine protesters $25,000 for calling names to grown men dressing in women's clothing, performing sexual acts to minors. Here we go. There's that hate right there, talking about equating people who identify as LGBTQ plus as engaging in sexual acts against children. That was posted, and since that time, I've also come to believe that the name that's blanked out was just a pseudonym for the person who was a friend of mine. That person is no longer a friend of mine. I let them know under no uncertain terms that's not acceptable. And that's happening in fandom. You see stuff like that, you gotta call it out. Or at least just say, if you're not comfortable calling it out, just, you do you, I'm out of here. It's, yeah. COVID. COVID is real. COVID's been very divisive. A little personal story. My mom passed away during COVID, November of 2021. And if anyone's been hospitalized, it's the scariest moment in your life, or one of the most scariest moments. You're hauled out of your home. She was living independently, and she gets hauled out of with like an entire medical crew into an ambulance, and then has to go to the hospital, and there's no one that she knows, right? Well, here's me trying to get inside the hospital and being told, oh no, I can't go in there because we're having a COVID quarantine. She had her phone, she had her wits, and she was still able to contact me, and we were still able to talk to each other. She understood the importance. I understood the importance. And you know, these are the things that we have to deal with for the better part of the public good. We actually understand we have a social contract to help each other out stay safer, especially when trying to get out of COVID. And then this happens. You would think that people running conventions understand that priority. This happened the same year. I think it happened before my mom was hospitalized. Convention organizer, still running a show, even though Anime North at the time wasn't running a show because we're concerned about public safety. Calling people equating going to a place to go buy bobbleheads is just as important as getting groceries, and calling people adhering to public safety measures as lockdown cheerleaders. Yeah, that's a big no from me. If it's any solace, I don't think that person runs nearly as many shows as they used to, and I know far more people that don't go to his show than do. So I'm hoping he's learned his lesson of how not to treat people, especially when respecting public safety. Let's see. Yeah. By the way, I'm not trying to punch down. I'm trying to punch up. This is from this is not a personal account. These are not personal accounts. These are people acting as from their official accounts and official duties. Like if someone doesn't equate to the responsibility of running a show safely and does stuff like this, I'm going to go somewhere where they do respect my safety. Yeah, this kind of happened. This is kind of funny. This happened before COVID. Come on in, red flags and fandom. Come on in. This happened before COVID. It was a controversial event where the local media, most of the local media, refused to attend. And anyone here watch the red flags? Yeah. Good morning. Anyone here watch any of the Firefest documentaries? Yeah. Or at least are you familiar with Firefest? Okay. Okay. So one of the things the media company was doing was hiding people's comments and removing people and banning them, especially if they brought up very valid points. On a lesser note, most of the media actively decided not to attend this show. So what did the event do? Oh, that's okay. We'll just post old articles and pretend they're current coverage. So people down below were calling it out and then found their comments removed and getting banned for calling out the truth on their their deception on their trying to up their esteem, trying to say, hey, we're getting this coverage. Yeah, this is old coverage because these people don't want anything to do with you anymore. Sock puppeting, stupid little comment here, whatever, stupid picture, whatever. Falsified engagement. You ever curious about something of how popular an event is, or if something doesn't seem right, just double check the likes. And for example, every single like in here is from the exact same company, the exact same organization. These guys decided to re-log in, and there's like a half dozen accounts just to try to seem like they're actually doing more than they really are in engagement. This one's going to be a little disturbing. Yeah, I've covered out the not so nice word there. If you must steal intellectual property, don't steal intellectual property from Disney. If you must steal intellectual property from Disney, do not use it in a very offensive product. If you want to make an offensive product while stealing IP from Disney, don't be mocking a lawyer who is representing sexual harassment victims. I got this from the lawyers on Twitter. He's actually laughing about it because he ended up winning, I think. Again, this also qualifies as personal attacks and hostility. A lot of this stuff, they blend in together. It's one or the other, or both, or a whole bunch of them. There's incidents that probably include all of them, but any of them, they can be recategorized in different ways. But I found that rather disturbing when that happened. Of course, that account got taken down. So they weren't selling their products, they were trying to steal IP and be disgusting in the process. Oh yeah, this was also posted to the convention's official website and their social media. Yeah, I'm seeing some reactions going, yeah, great move. Fortunately, the people who were involved with that are no longer doing that, so at least we got that going for us. Spec work and for exposure, yes. A couple of slides I want to share. First off is the oatmeal. Hello, creative person. Thanks for making that thing. You're welcome. Here's an invoice. An invoice? Never mind that. You're doing it for the exposure. Here's your exposure. Oh, wow. That's a ton of exposure. Thank you. Later on. Do you accept these? No. Yeah, it's a great comic from the oatmeal. I bleeped out the not so good word just because we're a family event here. I'm trying to watch my tongue. But using humor to get across a point. The Beaverton. Anyone familiar with that? It's like... Yeah. Yep, it's like Canada's version of the Onion. And local artist paid and dies from exposure. It's a shame that our generation is so lazy that sometimes they'd rather breathe their last under an overpass while curled in a ball of warmth instead of working hard and sticking it out. A little humor to get the topic going here, but we're talking about spec work. The speculation of a positive return on investment. Speculation on getting benefit of what you do instead of getting that deposit. Again, Firefest, one of the documentaries, this is a great example on a grander scale or a more intense scale of the lady that owns the restaurant, and she actually paid her workers. Whereas the rest of the people working on the island didn't get paid, the people that lived there. And she put up all her own money on spec as an investment because they said, okay, if you do this for this year, she'll be the person to run the show next year and make money off of it. So she put up $50,000 and lost $50,000 of her own money on spec of benefit instead of getting that deposit. And that's unfortunately worked out for her. I think there was like a legitimate GoFundMe. There was a legitimate GoFundMe to help her recoup her costs, which is nice. But again, on a smaller scale, it's just us. If you're an artist, you build stuff, you have to pay for everything yourself, and not even including the labor it's involved. Go getting the stuff, making the stuff, the cost of the materials alone. So if your friend wants you to make something for them, if they respect you, they'll pay you in advance for whatever it costs you want them to, whatever you want to charge. So there is a significant risk of loss. Get that deposit. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise, especially for artists. If your work is that, if someone's seeking out your work, they can also seek out to find out how to pay you. And for exposure. This is a big one. We're talking about where the reward is you, your efforts, or your talents, instead of actually getting benefit, money. Show me the money. As they say, F you, pay me. True story. 2009, I went to a convention, and where is it? Just make sure I got my notes here. Yep. Yeah, 2009, I went to a convention for a particular fandom, and the executive of a company that was responsible for that type of media saw my work, contacted the convention chair. The convention chair got me in touch with the executive, and the executive's like, yeah, we want you to come to your show. It'll be great exposure for what you do. Okay. So what's going to happen? Yeah, we're having it during it's going to happen on a work week in downtown Toronto. I go, okay. So I have to drive about a total of 5 hours, spend all day sweating it out in my cosplay, and are you covering parking, or going to help me with the cost of my, I guess? And his answer was, oh, we thought you'd like to do that just like you come to a convention. That's an executive. They got no concept. I asked him for a modest sum just to help cover the cost of gas and the fact that I'm going to have to do this on a work day. So he couldn't come up with a figure, so I came up with one on my own. It kind of looked like this. You get the idea. We're not on speaking terms anymore, which is just as well. Also consideration, volunteering is wonderful, but don't give yourself away. Know your worth. I highly praise Anime North for how they handle volunteers. They limit your hours, how much you can actually work, and how much they spell it out for, you're not going to overwork you throughout the day, and there's tangible benefits for what you do. It's listed out there. Everyone's got the same information versus I just want to point that out because I'm a volunteer. I've been doing this for 30 years. I showed up at a convention and worked 12 hours, and I loved every second of it. Volunteers are the heart and soul of any fan-run convention or any convention, as far as I'm concerned. And just my way of saying, hey, thanks for the work. If I leave with anything today, I just say maybe see a volunteer and say thank you for your work. That's something I try to do. All right. So this next topic, we actually have groupthink and lack of oversight. And we had some great feedback last year. The feedback was so good that I said, screw it, I'm going to make a change. So we are going to get rid of groupthink and lack of oversight. Nice shot. We're going to call it baffling BS. Keeping it simple. I think we all know what BS means. Yeah. Got a bunch of words here. We'll just go through it real quick. Oh, never mind. Aha! Spec work. Before we get into the baffling BS, this is also baffling BS. This happened not too long ago. People were given just over a week to send in videos of their cosplays. And if you win, you'll have a chance of being used in a product you're going to sell. I kid you not. This was posted. And I even got personal attacks. Someone said to me, "You have nothing to do with that show. Why are you saying this stuff?" First off, I'm a supporter. Second of all, that same organization used images of me after this, of my attendance and participation of the show. So obviously I was involved. But again, personal attacks, and instead of going, "Why are we doing this?" No, that's not a prize. You want to use me in your product, you're going to pay me. Within about 24 hours, this disappeared. Very notable cosplayers were like going, "No, this is not good." So watch out for contests like this, where people are trying to exploit you. I like to use the term predatory promotion, making it seem like something's being done for your benefit, where you're actually being used, where it's not to your benefit. That's, I think that's a big one right there. Anyway, watch out for contests that make no sense. So let's get to, baffling bold. It was groupthink and lack of oversight. A lot of it's just logical fallacies. Things just make you go, WTH? What the heck is going on here? This does not make sense. Yeah. So we talk about the sunk cost fallacy, throwing more money at something to make it make sense. Throwing more money in when you think your sunk cost really means thinking you're being critical about what you do, but attaching more of a emotional attachment to it, where you're spending more money than it's really worth. You see this happening in fan clubs a lot, where people are being told to show up when they get literally told when to show up, where to show up, well, what they're supposed to dress. I mean, it almost sounds cult-like. That's just me. I mean, some people join fan clubs and they enjoy every minute of it. Yeah, thank you. We're all so different, but there are limits. We talk about bad faith acts, like I mentioned, the deception section there, where people are just not being honest. Like we talk about Brandolini's Law. I've seen this quite a bit in fandom, where Brandolini's Law is a concept where it takes more energy to defeat BS than just spewing it. So it's on the side of people spewing the bull, and while you're using logical arguments, you're still spewing more BS. We've seen this in certain politics as well, and it's also made its way into fandom. So when people are throwing you topics and throwing you things that make no sense constantly, instead of answering something logically or honestly, that's a big red flag there. I like to keep in mind Hanlon's razor. Hanlon's razor is a concept where try not to attribute to malice or something that's harmful. That can be best described as coming from stupidity. Some people just don't understand. So I try to take that and go, okay, was this person just making a really bad mistake, or are they really doing something intentionally harmful? So all these different concepts, I got them up on the website if you want to go take a look at it. I'm just going to speed this along here. But essentially, if it smells like crap, you're likely going to step in it. If you have stepped in it, you got to scrape it off, because that stink's going to carry with you. I'll give an example. In 2008, convention executives, I'm going to learn to stop doing that. Convention executives chose to commit illegal acts and chose to risk the safety of attendees and put those doing the work, volunteers, at risk of legal consequences. The executive level cast the blame on everybody else except themselves, and the illegal actions that inevitably went public. Everything unraveled. It's all avoidable by checking yourselves and each other's work with oversight. Is this legal? And if it's illegal, why is it happening? That situation was so bad that the convention chair in January 2008 publicly admitted that they were engaged in illegal activities, and they were allowed to because of reasons. 3 days before the show, that chair was gone. And within about a year, everybody who was involved in those illegal activities were fired. Yes, people get fired from conventions, even when they're volunteers. And I was relieved to say that the convention was able to recover and continue by switching things up. Okay, all right. Now we're going to the big topic. Right, boundaries, how they're not being respected. We see this in the program guide. I'm going to reiterate this again, that no means no. It's important to get a picture of that. You want to take pictures of anything here? It's all on the website at redflagsandfandom.com. And it'll be video available in about 2 weeks or so. Come on in, grab a seat. We're just wrapping up Red Flags and Fandom. You're actually showing up at the most important part. So, I really respect Enemy North. I appreciate what they're trying to do to encourage a safer community. Having a harassment policy, or anti-harassment policy more accurately, is a wonderful thing. It's a necessary thing because, unfortunately, the reality is that people come to these events to be jerks, and worse. There are people that come here who are predators, and no convention is immune from that. So I praise Enemy North's attempts to increase safety. Just on the topic of safety, before I forget, at the bottom here it says 911 at any time if you feel like you're in danger. Here we go. So we can see we're at TCC South. Again, I've spared no expense in the graphic department. I put the red flag for our panel right here. That's whereabouts. Here's your driveway. The City View Drive, here's where the parking lot is. Right around here, okay, there's the paramedics. That's a great direction to walk to if you're in danger. If you said no to someone and they're still following you around, not only do we have paramedics on site, Enemy North brings in paid duty police. So by all means, call 911 and walk towards a safer direction. I mean, it says to find a staff member to help you out. If you're in danger, call 911 and get yourself to safety. That's your number one goal. So again, cosplay is not consent. We get it. Just because I'm wearing a costume doesn't mean you're going to grab me and use me in your cosplay. I kid you not. A few years ago, I was all dressed up and I was trying to have breakfast, and I'm literally filling up my plate for the buffet, and someone's like grabbing me, going, "I need to get a picture." I'm like, "You almost wore this. Would you like to wear it? I can make you wear this." Like, it was borderline threatening, but the staff member who saw the whole thing was like, "That was cool." Get the message across. I mean, if you're in a cosplay, people can wait to get they can wait for you to be ready to let them take a photograph. Again, praise to Enemy North. They have scheduled photograph sessions, which also helps out in that regard as well. Let people know where to go to get photographs. But cosplay is not consent. And the other more mature and dangerous method of, oh, I'm showing skin, that means I get to touch it. No. I don't care what people are wearing. I care more about what people realize they need to keep their damn hands to themselves. That's where the problem is. It has nothing to do with what someone's wearing. People need to learn no touch. Right. Grooming and predatory behavior. Oh, before I continue. So some people I've read some complaints about Enemy North's harassment policy that maybe it could be better. You know, it's also being able to enact a harassment policy. It's all run by volunteers, and they're also bringing in police. Worst case scenario, you're not feeling safe, you call the cops. Enemy North makes that available. They're actually on scene, so they can get here real quick. And there's the opposite side of the spectrum of not having a policy, or even worse, denying anything about doing anything for harassment. This happened early 2019. This was so bad that their guest of honor said, "No, I am not coming to this convention." And I just dropped something. Okay, never mind. "I'm not coming to this convention." Well, I don't blame you. The convention owner's position was that we were likely to see women faking harassment in order to attack the convention and take it down. The stance is volunteers and staff must do nothing to intervene and take absolutely no action to de-escalate if they observe acts of harassment unless a formal complaint is made. The only exception to this rule is that we see a cosplayer accepting money for photos, we must intervene because they're a vendor and we need to take a cut. I can take questions later on, but what's that?
Oh yeah, so speaking about convention, yeah, in Toronto Comic Con 2 months ago, there was like a lot of incidents where like over 100 phones were stolen, and yeah, there were assaults as well.
Yeah.
I've seen people getting shoved because someone accidentally bumped into them.
That's also a crowd control issue. I mean, I praise Amy North for having cutoffs, right? It's all about public. We're all here together. It's all about public safety, right? I respect that. So if you see a convention doing that, run. There's no place for that whatsoever. The people who were trying to, the person who was leading this volunteer meeting and the person trying to play damage control are both no longer involved. Let's get back to, grooming and predatory behaviors. We mentioned that grooming topic earlier on the social media, the questionable social media, right? Yeah, I have permission to relay a story about someone. She was 15 or 16, and he was in his mid-20s, and he went to conventions looking for girls. I have permission from the victim in this case to talk about it, and all this rhetoric and all this terrible things undermining the seriousness of grooming, right? Grooming of a sexual nature is absolutely disgusting, and using it as not only using it as a way to attack people of various orientations, but also undermines the seriousness of this. I'll tell you what grooming sounds like. Grooming is in 5 words. You're mature for your age. That's a typical groomer tactic that has played out horribly with typically older men seeking out younger girls. And I say girls because they're underage and unable to consent. If you know someone who's in that situation, speak out. Ask if you're in high school. If you know someone in high school who's doing that, okay, nobody here is in high school age, okay, but encourage them to talk to their teacher if they can't talk to you, because the teacher has a duty to report. Use that. If you see something that doesn't make sense, by all means, if you see something at a convention and go, hey, staff worker, I'm seeing this, I'm not too sure about it. Is there some way we can do to intervene? We also see predatory behaviors with photographers. No names. This red flags is not about naming names. We're talking about trying to avoid situations, because these situations happen again and again and again, and I'm trying to stop that cycle. Predatory behaviors with photographers is pretty bad. I'll take questions later on, but I'll go ahead and grab you.
Yeah, in particular for photographers, I know you can't name names, but for example, what's an example of some behavior to watch out for?
Well, one of the examples we have are typically guys, trying to get photographs of, younger cosplay women, girls, and getting them alone together. And just like in life in general, the responsibility falls upon people not to become victims. Instead of telling people, stop victimizing, it's typically on us to learn to try to avoid becoming victims. And my suggestion is, anyone goes to a photo shoot, they do the buddy system. When cops respond to a situation they're unaware of, they got body armor and they got guns and they got training. What do? They don't show up alone, they bring in people. They got backup, okay? So if someone's going to a photo shoot, bring someone with you. If the photographer doesn't like that, walk away. That's probably the safest thing you can do, but it's typically, I'm trying to watch my words here, but I've been seeing some recent stories where it's the same thing again, where an older man taking advantage of a younger girl, and just like in the grooming situation. But predatory isn't just of a sexual nature. Yeah, go ahead and grab that. No tripping hazards here, please. That's why I'm walking around and not up. I'm wearing Hakama. I've already tripped on these going upstairs. So predatory isn't just of a sexual nature. It's just, we talk about that predatorial promotion idea too. That's also with exploitation. When I'm talking about exploitation as well, it's not just sexual. exploitation and entitlement. We talk about, let me go grab my notes here, just 1 second here. Right. Yeah. Talk about exploitation is not just being unfair treatment or just horrible treatment of various scales. So not only is there exploitation in regards to the predatory behaviors, we're talking about, this happens a lot where people show up to conventions, don't have a badge, but they pretend to be media organizations. You stick a camera in your face and you expect you to produce something to provide them content, they make fun of you. That happened here, and they got banned, and they showed up again, and they got banned again a few years back. And that's one of the reasons why some of the rules for anti-harassment have been changed because of incidents like that. So if you see someone getting in your face and they don't have a badge, ask them for their credentials. Unfortunately, every year after year, there's always some sort of media organization that comes in that didn't get credentials and decide to stir up crap. And entitlement, people feeling that they've got a reason to push your bounds and say, oh, you need to do this for me. No, you're not paying me. That also happens with the disrespect of volunteers. Like again, volunteers are the heart and soul of conventions, and it ranges from obnoxious mistreatment, being yelled at, to scamming them, which I showed you, to willfully directing them to commit illegal acts, just like in the baffling BS thing. Anywhere where you're feeling like you've got any type of disrespect to a volunteer, that's not an organization you want to be a part of. But I also want to say here, scammers and abusers, they thrive on control. It's all about, again, we're talking about manipulation on a grander scale, not just trying to change the optics, but just trying to manipulate people to do stuff they don't want to do or shouldn't be doing. And you have to wonder, okay, what's really going on here? I'm going to cut this short, get going here. I know some people want to have some questions, and I'll do my best for that as well. All right, let's go to the last slide here. So 4 points that I mentioned earlier. So number one, we're talking about good faith mistakes. They're not the same as bad faith deceptions. When someone's lying to you with intent versus making an honest mistake, that's a big red flag right there. So if in doubt, check it out. Get the data. We can't take things at face value anymore. If you have our gut instincts exist for a reason after eons of human development. We still have a logical brain, but we still have that thing in the back of your head to go, wait a minute, that doesn't seem right. So if in doubt, check it out. See something and say something. And one phone call, one email, one social media post is not going to hurt a legitimate organization. We talked about that with the For Exposure showing the contest. It just took one person speaking out going, what kind of a contest is this where I have to give you stuff and if I win, you're going to use me? One social media post took that down. One question to that took that down. And it's perfectly valid also on the flip side it's also perfectly valid to just walk away. Says, I don't feel safe about that. I'm not comfortable with that. I'm going to walk away. Perfectly valid. And when we're all fighting our own personal wars, I'm just trying to shed some light into stuff that I'm hoping we can reduce. And finally, we just empower each other. Awareness and supporting each other is the top thing we can do, because after all, it's just us. But there are more of us. So, thank you. Thanks for being here. Oh, they're clapping. Yay! Thanks for being here. Thanks for putting up with me. I'm also a sponsor of the Robin Hood Medieval Fair. It's next Saturday in Gibson Park. I'm from World of Region, and I'm friends with the person that runs the show, and I'm sponsoring it as well. And if anyone wants to have a quick chat later on here, I have this room for another 10 minutes, maybe. So thank you very much for being here, and enjoy your day safely. That wasn't too bad.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. And I'm turning off the camera.